Hey, ladies and gents, welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry, episode 152. As always, I'm joined by Jordan.
Jerrad, it's great to have you here on the show. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. Unfortunately, we don't have Dom this week. Two-man show, Fireside Groove, as always. In terms of what we've been playing, pretty slow week for me. Played some more Super Mario Maker 2. So there's 100 Nintendo-created levels, and I've been chipping away at it. And
Were there 100 for the first one?
There was, I don't know if there was even, there was no story mode, but I think there was some levels you could play to get used to building and stuff. I don't know. Definitely not 100, not even anywhere close.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I've been chipping it away at it. I'm in the 30s somewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I don't have a specific number, but around there. The cool thing is not only are there the 100 levels that you play to build the castle up, right, and earn coins, there's little mission levels you have to play where you have to rescue some of the toads that are working on the castle. So it's an escort mission where you have to find them in the level and then not get hit with them with you, you know what I mean? And take them to the end of the level. And those are very sparse. I was gonna say they're spare levels and they're sparse, tongue twisted.
Have you ever been to Sparse, Jerrad?
Have you ever been to Sparse? They're a little bit challenging, but they don't come up super often, so it's not it doesn't get monotonous, or you know how escort missions can be in video games where they're kind of annoying to a certain extent.
Honestly, those are the worst kind, the Mario kind where you got a toad on your back or whatever. Those are the most sinful escort missions.
But they come up so rarely throughout the story mode. Well, it's not really story mode, just the levels you play, that they don't feel as bad, and it does give a little bit of a refresher to the types of levels and the challenges you're going through with the set of 100 levels to build the castle.
So I thought there was an actual story to it.
I mean, it's the castle blows up, so you need to help her build it. It's a very loose Nintendo story, you know what I mean?
But it is in that realm of Nintendo story where it's save the princess from the castle.
Exactly, yeah. But this time you're building your castle because, first of all, you need to rescue her, and then you're her cheap labor. So, I've also been playing Apex Legends, enjoying Season 2 still. Nothing really to report there that I haven't said in the last couple of weeks. Madden 20. With EA Access, you're able to play it for 10 hours before the game comes out. Obviously, I'm a huge NFL fan, so I buy Madden every year. I enjoy playing it. And I didn't dabble too much in it today because the free trial went up today, the 10 hours for EA Access. And so here's the reason why I did EA Access, because I don't know if you remember, Jordan, me saying that I stopped having EA Access because I just didn't find a whole lot of value in it.
Okay.
So I was going to buy Madden. Madden is, $63, $64, whatever the tax is, when you buy a game for $59.99. EA Access is $5. If you get EA Access, you get 12%. You get a percentage off of games, right? So basically the math was, if I paid to get EA Access for a month of $5, the difference of me getting Madden for a cheaper price plus that is the same as I would pay outright, and I would get the free 10 hours to play before the game came out. So might as well.
Sure.
Basically get 10 hours for the same price. I've been playing it. I didn't get a chance to do the actual new stuff to the game. So there's, which is the X Factor abilities that they added for superstars. I think the game launches with 50 players having them. And obviously that'll change depending on how performances are throughout the NFL season in real life, or how you upgrade players through the franchise mode, right? And then the other big thing is the face of the franchise, which is the quote-unquote single-player mode that's replacing long shot. It's not as narrative story-driven. It's more of you taking sole control of a quarterback. Reading the achievements, it seems like there are some story elements, but it's kind of reverted back to a more... last week we talked about the 2K My Career mode, remember? And I was telling you there's text message chats with players, and it's a very loose story. It's not it's not even close to long shot in terms of an actual narrative of specific characters, right? It kind of reverted back to that, which is fine, but I haven't had a chance to play it, so I want to dip my toes in that and see how it is, because it also added the ability to play the college football championship, and you get to pick one of, I think, 6 prominent universities to play at. So it's like Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, I think Florida State, Florida, and I can't remember the other team, but it's like some of the powerhouses, probably Notre Dame or something. So those are like the new things, and I didn't get a chance to play those. The thing I did hop into was Madden Ultimate Team, which is the card collecting game, which is the money maker for EA for that and for FIFA.
But
yeah, I thought you said but, so I stopped there. One of the cool things they added, and this is a little in the details for people who play MUT, is normally, Jordan, you would go in, there'd be these challenges you'd accomplish where it's like you get 500 coins for getting to this game and throw a 10-yard pass without making an incompletion, right? So you kind of want to throw one pass and complete it, and you're done with the challenge really quick, right? The frustrating thing is, so those challenges get harder as you go on and as the rewards get better, right? Which makes sense. The frustrating thing is you would hop in there, it would take 3 seconds if you know what you're doing in Madden. Even if you don't, that's not that hard of a challenge. Then you'd have to get into the loading screen, go back to the main menu, find the next challenge, click on it, load in, do it. Then when you're done, so it was like a lot of the time you were wasting was simply on loading screens, because as the challenges progressed, they would be a little bit more involved. But when you started off, it was like, get in, do it, get out. Get in, do it, get out. And it was just loading screens, right? Especially somebody like me who's played Madden for so long. It was just like, I would get in, do the challenge in like 5 seconds, and then have to wait twice that for a loading screen, you know what I mean? On the good side, twice that. Now, for this year, they added the ability to jump to the next challenge right away. So I finish a challenge, when it comes up saying I completed the challenge, instead of having to go back to the main menu, there's an option that says play the next challenge. You click on it, it shows you what that challenge is, so you know if you want to attempt it, right? So you don't have to go through an additional loading screen to do something you're not even ready to do yet. You click on it, loads you right into the next challenge. So it cuts out all of that issue of having to go back to the main menu, find one, then go into it, then go back to the main menu, then go in. And I was able to rattle off a bunch of really cool and difficult challenges. They added like a star system, so you can actually scale the difficulty for each challenge for you too. So like the challenge I was telling you about of throwing one pass without a completion, 2 stars it would be make sure you gain 10 yards with that pass. 3 stars would be score a touchdown with that pass, right? So like little modifiers that make it more difficult, and the computer gets a little bit more difficult too as you add more stars. The reason the stars are important is they're not just there for difficulty. You earn those stars, and you get coins for each star you get, and then there's overall rewards in the menus of like when you reach 60 stars, you get an 86 overall quarterback, which is pretty good considering you're early in the game and you don't have any of that, right? You start with like 60s and 70s.
B+ player.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just really cool, and it flows, and it helps you get in and out of challenges, and the sense of accomplishment stays around. And if you're good at the game, it rewards you for being good, because you could just get through all of these challenges back to back to back without having to deal with the loading screens. So it's a really good quality of life improvement there. And with the cynical side of it is, with a game mode that makes as much money as Ultimate Team does, they want you to stay in that game mode as long as possible. So every time you actually go to the main menu, there's a chance for you to either switch games or go to a different game mode, right? So the easier they make it for you to want to stay playing Ultimate Team, the more likely you are to spend money. So it makes sense from the business side too of why you want to make it as seamless as possible. But yeah, enjoying it. I'll report more when I play the actual new stuff that was added to this game, and talk about how that feels. But yeah, I just played some Madden. Before recording, we talked about comics we read. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but obviously Hickman's House of X came out, which is part of his 12-issue lead-up series to his X-Men series. It features House of X, which is 6 issues, Powers of 10, which I don't know why they just don't call it Powers of X.
I've just seen it called Powers of X.
On every Marvel interview I've heard, when they talk to him, they say Powers of 10. Power of 10. I don't know why. I don't know if there's just maybe a weird like Marvel thing, and like everyone else is like, dude, it's just Powers of X. But they refer to it as Powers of 10.
To the other one as House of 10?
No, they refer to it as House of X. That's why it's dumb. I hate it. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
In like issue 3, there's gonna be some random bullshit where they're like explaining the title, and you're just like, God damn it, fuck this.
Exactly. Enjoyed it. Me and you obviously talked a little bit. more spoilery before the show. Both excited to see where it goes, which is awesome. Read Amazing Spider-Man, read a couple of other things in terms of viewing. Oh, I didn't.
Do you like Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the series throughout.
Because I gotta say, I think a big thing that I've noticed in comics is there's plenty of shitty writers, and there's pretty few like incredible writers, right? Like there's a ton of incredible game studios that make amazing video games. I think that there's like less than 50 that are alive right now, just like awesome comic creators.
Well, I think it's because
writer-wise.
I think it's because they move on to like other stuff because the pay isn't great. So it's like they make their name being great writers in the comic books, and then they move on. You know.
It's a great point, Jerrad.
Yeah. I don't think it's like blowing the doors down. I think the Kraven arc was really solid. I think the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man with the clone stuff wasn't great. I really enjoyed the Kraven stuff, and then this new stuff with Boomerang is like okay, but like it's my enjoyable like junk food comic every week. Like I just like reading it.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to have Spider-Man, even though he's barely Spider-Man in this book. I will say that much. It's so much Peter Parker, which is a big thing with me in superheroes. But kind of what I was saying with the whole writer thing is I just think that, like I said, there's obviously shitty writers, but I think that the vast majority of comic writers, because of the format and the way it comes out and how quick you have to write it and how serialized it is, I guess.
And put it in continuity and make sure you're connecting to this other event that's happening that you don't really have a connection to.
Not even that. I'm more just talking about the almost rapidity of release.
Oh, yeah.
I think that there's a lot of just really competent, solid, better than mediocre. I'm not saying they're just average. Nick Spencer reminds me of that, where it's like, okay, this is a good book. I'm not going to put it down because it is solid. I am mildly enjoying myself, but it's not like some of the stuff that Donny Cates is writing for them, or something that like Mark Waid would write for Marvel, where you're just like, okay,
Zdarsky,
I'm down. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
with this Brian Michael Bendis shit, right? Like he gets you there every issue, and I think that's another thing in comics is you have a lot of solid writers who write decent, good, even good or pretty good stories, but there's so many issues that just I don't want to use the term throwaway, but that you just don't need them. You know?
Yeah, and it's that like sucks. How much of that is like obviously some of it's the writer's fault, but also the medium, like you said, and not being able to like release like a trade as a whole story. And
right.
I think there's a lot more that can go into creating like a better ecosystem of great writers if the medium is willing to open up to different types of releases with comic books and their stories.
Yeah,
who knows?
Good luck with that, Jerrad.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rick Remender. He's one of those guys that I don't think I've ever read. I've read, probably 4 or 5 of his series at this point. I'll say Deadly Clash, just so you kind of know who I'm talking about. But I don't know if I've ever read an issue, probably hundreds of issues of his now. Don't know if I've ever read an issue that I was like, I could have done without that. Every single one is at least like a really quality time. You're enjoying yourself through all 20 pages. He teams up with great artists, and so I think every time he really nails it.
And creative control too, man. Like being able to like have creative control over that is great too, and leads to better storytelling. The last thing I want to touch on before we get into everything you did, Shazam. Finally watched Shazam. Remember how we talked about last week that I wasn't able to rent it? You could only buy it.
Oh yeah, dude.
That
logistical bullshit with digital releases. Tell me about it.
The following day, I guess, or somewhere around there, maybe a couple of days after. I don't remember exactly when I watched Shazam. But when we talked about it on the podcast, it was because earlier in that week, I had checked on like various sites, YouTube, iTunes, all of that, and it was like $17. The day after we finished recording, it was available for rent for I think $4.99 on YouTube. Great, paid $5, got to watch it. Really enjoyed it. We talked about this in our own group chat. It's probably my favorite of the DCEU movies. Obviously, out of us three, I mean, Dom probably hasn't seen half of them. I was a lot higher on Justice League than you were, and Batman vs Superman.
I don't remember that.
And then
Not really
I don't know where you fell with Aquaman.
Dude, Aquaman as an action movie is super dope, even though I do agree with people that say, like, even for the action, it goes a little much. You know, there might be, like, one too many or two too many action scenes where it's like, all right, we got it.
It reminds me a lot of, like...
For the most part, loved the action, I should say, not the movie. It's not a great, like, film.
It reminds me of, like, early X-Men films in a way. Like, it's like...
Yeah.
You know,
well, it reminds me of more like an animated series sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it was enjoyable.
The story here may not be, top of the charts, but it's really fun to watch.
Exactly. Shazam, I think, far and away is the best film in the DCU, which isn't like a
dude. It's
high
so
bar to set.
fucking funny, and I'll tell you, I really like this approach for Shazam. I don't think it works for every movie, maybe not for Deadpool 2, but the approach of just like, we're gonna make as many jokes as we can possibly jam into this fucking movie, right? And you're gonna laugh at some of them because we're gonna hit the dartboard eventually, right?
Yeah.
And they just go for it, and not every single one of them works, but I would say that the vast majority of them do. And I laughed out loud more with that movie than any other movie in a long time. Certainly more than non-shout out to Long Shot. Couldn't even finish it, but dude, Shazam is like, honestly, top tier superhero movies. It's a top tier comedy. Like, lot of great things I could say about Shazam. I will just say this, Jerrad. Hands, lightning from my hands, lightning from my hands.
Yeah,
lightning from my hands. Dude, that's probably the funniest scene of any movie this year.
Love seeing Jerry from Walking Dead in a movie. He's one of my favorite. Yeah. Like, I love that guy. He's just like really enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, despite all the issues Walking Dead has had.
A lot of great acting in that movie. A lot of great actors, and the kids, I think, are awesome.
Yeah. That's pretty much it for Shazam. Anything you want to touch on? What have you checked out this week? You played anything? Watched anything?
Yeah, so gaming-wise, I played a little bit of one game, and I gotta say, Jerrad, I did not enjoy my time. And the name of that game is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And it's about the drift, Jerrad. It's all about the drift. Because, hate me for it if you want, but obviously you're going to compare this game to Mario Kart, because for one, there's just not enough kart racers to compare it to, and two, it is the gold standard. So, there's plenty of stuff about Mario Kart that is utter bullshit, and it's not even close to perfect. So I'll say that. But the drifting in Mario Kart is flawless. It's like what people say about the shooting in Call of Duty, Jerrad. This is what we're talking about here. This is the type of thing, the type of bar that you want to hit when you're making one of these kart racers. And I don't know, some people may love it, some people may think the drift itself in Crash, or the slide as it's called, blows Mario Kart out of the water, but I just can't fucking get down with it, man. I really tried to get used to it and to give it a try and see if maybe it was just me, and I do plan on giving it another try, but so far it has not been a good experience. I think that the tracks are really beautiful. I think that the characters look good and the music is good. I would say it's a lot more bare bones as a kart racer. And I think, there's plenty of customization and stuff like that. I mean, like the actual stuff that you're doing on the track. I don't think that the strategy of the items is anywhere near Mario Kart. And I think the overall experience that I was getting, you can tell that it's not on the same level, I think that it's a high quality production in a lot of ways, but I don't know. A lot of people seem to like it and think it's better and more skill based than Mario Kart. I would say, in the sense that it doesn't have as much of the rubber banding, yes. But in the sense of the actual moment-to-moment gameplay and the pure input of the controls while driving, it's really not there for me. And so, like I said, I'll try to get back to it and see if I'm just crazy and if I can't get acclimated at some point. But yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. So have you haven't played it?
No, I'm not a big kart racing guy to begin with, and even back in the day when I was a huge Crash guy, I never played team racing. So
gotcha. Now, I did not play the original team racing games either, even though I do really enjoy myself a kart or arcade racer. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that for the moment, because I didn't play it too much. I just played it enough to know it wasn't tickling my fancy. It wasn't floating my boat, if you will. So, next. Continuing on with Season 2 of Hannibal, Jerrad, and I gotta tell you, it's incredible. Way better than Season 1. I think Season 1 is really good. I think Season 2 is fucking awesome. And the show certainly has issues, I think. With the subject matter, there is a little bit of ridiculousness to it, if you get my meaning, with like, they're kind of like supervillain serial killers, you know?
yeah.
So it gets, I mean, it gets like a little too wild for reality in the first place, but it also just kind of has some leaps in logic, I guess what I'm saying.
Like Dexter levels, or?
Only watched Season 1 of Dexter, but I would definitely say yes. Where
Okay.
it's like, how could a human being truly accomplish these things? You know what I mean?
So do you mind if I spoil something about Dexter to explain why I asked that question?
Not at all, because I've heard it drops off.
So I've never watched all of Dexter either. I've only watched like the first 2 episodes. But one of my friends, it's funny, one of my friends was super obsessed with Hannibal, but then it got canceled. He was super upset.
Sure.
A different friend entirely loves Dexter. It's one of his favorite shows. He does admit he doesn't like how it ended, but he really loves Dexter. So apparently in the last couple of seasons, and this is secondhand told from somebody who's watched the show, so it might not be perfect for people out there who have watched Dexter and like, oh, you're not 100% correct. So apparently he's actually possessed by like this universal demon that embodies killing or something.
Comic book bullshit?
Yeah, like embodies killing, and then he has a kid and he passes on the demon to his kid or something.
No
yeah, it's like,
way.
It's like something like
Fucking
that. Yeah.
A. Yeah, I might end up going through Dexter at some point. Who knows? I wouldn't say that's the most enticing thing.
Because it starts as a show is like, oh, this is a serial killer who works as a crime scene investigator or whatever he is. Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting. It's a neat premise. And then it's like, nah, he's actually possessed by this like universal killing demon, and it's like, Jesus, what a leap. So yeah, that's what I was asking.
That's basically the plot of Hannibal, even though it's not strictly like that. Like Hugh Dancy's character isn't just an FBI agent; it's more complicated than that. But that's basically what's happening. Is like you have Hannibal, the serial killer, but he also is like really closely involved with the FBI and even does investigate some crime scenes with them. So definitely similar vibes there. But it's a great show. It is masterfully crafted and created. It is just like the music. I know I talked a lot about the visuals and the depth of the darkness in the picture. But this season 2, I've really been focusing on the music, which was good in season 1 as well, but like to the next level in this one. Just perfectly encapsulates what the series is going for, but is also extremely experimental and is just really far out there and tries a lot of cool stuff. So I really appreciate the score a lot and think that it is, I would say, miles above a lot of scores for even some of the best TV shows. I think a lot of the best TV shows don't have the best music, you know?
And wasn't Hannibal's was originally a network television show, correct?
NBC, dude. You would not believe
which is even more surprising.
Dude, straight up, except for nipples and F-bombs, this is an HBO show. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like with the level of gore that you're seeing, you honestly would not believe it. And I will say that it is not just the most disturbing show, but it is some of the most disturbing entertainment media I have ever watched in my entire life. And it's bearable, but I, like I've said, have to take it in small doses, and it is... But that... It deserves to do that. Like, it's not just pulling like gags for bullshit. It's just going there in a really cool way.
It's not just gore porn. There's a reason to it.
Exactly. It's not torture porn, but it has got some fucked up shit in there. So I would just say, as someone who is not faint of heart, if you are, I would stay well away from this fucking show, man.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure I'll keep praising Hannibal in the near future, but that's my take for this week. Besides that, let's see here. Continued on with Mob Psycho 100 Season 2. And I know you don't like the animation on this show, Jerrad, but I find it really interesting. I also don't necessarily like it, you know, like... It's kind of like how people love pugs because of how ugly they are. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. I'd rather just have a cute dog, you know, or a cool dog.
There's no point to me where ugly becomes cute. It just remains ugly.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's the same thing here. Like, I'm not like, oh, it's so ugly that it's cute. I'm like, no, it's fucking ugly. Until, you know, this is done by Bones, who I've talked about being, you know, in my opinion, the best animation studio. So they're doing shit like My Hero Academia, or maybe one of the best looking anime of all time in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And then they're also doing this, where they're really perfectly translating the simplistic and just kind of goofy looking art that One does, the author of the manga. And they didn't do One Punch Man, but you see that as well in that series. And then when they want to like sharpen up a character and make them look like a real cool looking anime character, they do. And I think that works really well because of how ugly the rest of the series is, right? So
yeah,
that part at least is really interesting to me, and I do like the rest of the show enough to where that doesn't bother me too much. But yeah, I think that so far season 2 has the potential to be better than season 1, and it is kind of an underdog show, not in the sense of its popularity, but just kind of like it has things going against it, and yet it still has a cool heart to it. So I do appreciate that, even though it is kind of like ugly as sin for a lot of those characters. But yeah, shout out to that show. I shouted out G Gundam and how cool the fucking Gundams are, Jerrad. And I just gotta say one more fucking time, G Gundam has the fucking coolest Gundams. Do you know of any of these Gundams? Like,
no.
Are you familiar with any of them?
I couldn't point one out in a lineup, no.
Right, yeah. So, it's basically just Gundams from all these different countries of the world, and some of them are really stereotypical, but nonetheless, it's really fucking cool. Some of them are absolutely incredible and just such creative Gundam designs and mech designs. I love the one, I think it's Norway, that's the Viking Gundam, and its shoulder plates are like the curved edge of a Viking ship, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, cool.
It's got kind of like a Gundam beard. It has horns coming off of its helmet, so that's just another example of some of the really cool shit that they have going on with these various designs. So I would say just check the designs out on Google, even if you don't feel like watching the show, Jerrad, because I know you do appreciate a good Gundam. So
a good Gundam.
Good Gundam.
Should we hop into quickie news?
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to quick shout out real quick. Finish Teen Titans, Jared. Gotta fucking shout out Teen Titans. That's what I'll say.
I still need to watch Teen Titans Go to the Movies. It's on my list of stuff I want to watch.
It's not on the level of Shazam, but for an animated movie, as stupid as it is and should be, it's going to get you kind of in the same way that Shazam did, where you're like, you know what? I fucking like you, man. You're cool. It's going to get you in that same way, and you're enough of a DC fan to appreciate a lot of the stuff, even though it really fucking goes there as far as references go. So it does stuff like it doesn't want you to know some of these characters that they're referencing so that you can get a kick out of it. So Teen Titans Go to the Movies is fucking fantastic. The original Teen Titans series is fantastic.
Yep.
Really enjoyed the way that it wrapped up, even though, like I said, for the final season they kind of did a continuous storyline, which they hadn't been doing. They had this big comic book style Brotherhood of Evil story. So the only weird thing is that finishes with episode 12 of season 5, and so then season 5, 13, that what it ended up being the series finale is more just like a regular episode. And so that was kind of odd because clearly, they weren't necessarily just ending the show like I kind of felt like they were with the final storyline, Brotherhood of Evil.
Yeah.
So I'll just say fantastic series. I watched the movie Trouble in Tokyo, and that is really cool because Teen Titans is like the part of really the starting the wave after America got into anime in the late 90s and early 2000s with Pokemon and Dragon Ball, stuff like that. Teen Titans is part of these American shows like that, or Samurai Jack, or Avatar The Last Airbender that are attempting to essentially be American-made anime. And it obviously totally wears that on its sleeve. It has stuff ripped straight from anime. And so when they actually go to Tokyo and they're connecting all these cool references, that really makes a lot of sense for the series, obviously, and is really fun and just a cool movie. So there's that, and then I'll also give a shout out to Teen Titans Go because the movie is great and the series doesn't get enough love because people just want the OG Teen Titans series, but you have 5 great seasons of that. You have 2 movies now for the 2 series, and Teen Titans Go, for what it's trying to be, does a great job and still really respects the Teen Titans and the original show. So, and just DC in general. So I really appreciate it, and I am quite excited now to see Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans later on this year. So shout out to the motherfucking Teen Titans, and shout out to the comic too. I know I talked a while ago about them switching up the lineup too much, and it was kind of annoying, but this new lineup, Crush has been fighting her father Lobo recently, and they got a cool lineup going right now. I like how they've brought this team together. Jin, Lobo, or Crush, Wallace West, Flash, Kid Flash, obviously Damian Wayne, and Speedball, Hardball, I don't know, some blue kid. But it's a cool little comic, and so just fucking big old shout out to, you know what, Jerrad? You ready for this? My favorite superhero team of all time, the Teen fucking Titans.
Awesome, I can get behind that. Not my choice,
dude,
but it's not something I'm going to golf at. It's a solid choice.
The series, finishing the series and like all the stuff I just talked about, it's solidified for me. I fucking love them. And obviously I love the Justice League. They're probably like the best superhero team of all time, but fucking Teen Titans, that's my fucking gang right there. So
let's hop into some news now.
Sure.
First, so we got a couple of quickie news stories, and we got June NPDs, and then some news about Nintendo. So the quickie news stories.
Nintendo.
One, I'm actually really stoked about both of these. One, Control has gone gold, so it's going to hit its August 27th release date. Remedy, obviously. Me and you were higher on Quantum Break than a lot of people. Very underrated studio. I can't wait. It's one of my most anticipated games this fall.
It is my most anticipated game.
It's. I really hope it. I hope this does a lot for Remedy in the bigger picture, in terms of like the casual gamer. Sucks that there's some like PlayStation exclusive stuff, but I get it. You know, Remedy's games don't necessarily sell particularly well, and you know their games have been Xbox exclusive for a long time, so can't get mad that it swung the other way a little bit.
Still playing it on Xbox, I assume.
Yeah. That being said, I'm still playing it where I want to play it, but yeah, really excited that went gold. Second story, we talked about Super Mario.
Real quick, Jared, has there ever been anything like that was so fucking important? You know, has there ever been like some console exclusive content that, like, looking back on it, hindsight 2020, it's like, oh, if you didn't have that, the game just wasn't the same. You know,
I think
it's bullshit.
The one part where it did make a difference was Destiny and Destiny 2, because some of those strikes had specific items or gave, like, there's some stuff in Destiny where there's like a rotation of strikes, and there'd be a benefit to there being an extra strike in the playlist, and because PlayStation had an extra strike, it would benefit PlayStation gamers more than Xbox people.
Sure.
Or even the guns.
I think that came to mind, and I do think that is probably the best example. Still, I don't think it's detrimental to the experience. You know?
The one thing I will say is if Spider-Man is in Marvel's Avengers and he ends up being console exclusive, that's going to suck a lot. It's going to be really irritating.
I really don't think he is.
I don't think so either. Like, I'm just saying, like,
that would be fucked up. I think you're going to have, like, costume
content,
exclusive.
Yeah. But to your point, too, I've never bought a game on a certain console because of the content. Obviously, I've bought consoles for exclusive games, but exclusive content has never really pushed me one way or another. I tend to justify it in my mind one way or another, you know what I mean?
They want to, like, have the exclusive deal so they can get paid extra and they can, like, you know, get paid extra. But they don't want to piss people off, so they don't make it too fucking important.
Yeah,
you know?
and if CD Projekt Red had exclusive content on Xbox or PS4, that would irritate me because they've shown that their games can sell really well, right? So they don't need it. Yeah. I'm not saying that they would ever do it because that's not their philosophy, but just in as an example, Remedy, on the other hand, their games haven't sold particularly well. So I understand it. Like, I want Remedy to be around, and sometimes these are the deals they need to make. You know what I mean? Marvel's Avengers, Square Enix, that game's going to sell a ton. That kind of rubs me a little gross. Or Destiny. The Remedy thing is a little bit more acceptable because of who they are.
You guys don't fucking need to do this shit. Fuck off.
And I doubt it was Square Enix going to PlayStation. It was probably PlayStation going to them. It would be my assumption because of the whole split with Destiny, right? So it's like they don't have that anymore as like this is our exclusive content third-party thing. Next up, other bit of quickie news. Super Mario Maker 2 has upgraded the number of levels you can upload to online from 32 to 64. So literally doubling the number of levels you can upload. And they tease that there's going to be another upgrade in the future. Some people think it'll double again. So you'll have 128.
32 is pretty fucking low, dude.
Yeah, but to the point you have to remember that the first game didn't really have great curation tools. So it's like they didn't want to overflood with everybody being able to upload a ton, but at least they doubled it, and it's like when did it come out? June, so we're like about a month. Yeah, about a month.
June 26th, actually.
Yeah, so almost a month, literally. Let's get into these June 2019 NPDs. The month's top 5 sellers, and I'll explain some of these because they might be surprising. Number 5, Minecraft. If people don't know, recently Minecraft has had another resurgence. It's actually on YouTube and Twitch. It's starting to compete again with Fortnite, and in a lot of viewership numbers, it's been passing Fortnite recently. People forget how huge Minecraft is. Partially, the YouTube space has gone back to it, and also, I think, me personally, I think it's because people are getting tired of Fortnite, and what people don't understand is that Fortnite was largely based on the kids who grew up playing Minecraft, right? It was kids playing Minecraft, and then they went and like, oh, I'm getting older. I want to play a shooter now. oh, a shooter that includes building. I've been building in Minecraft for a long time, and I think it was a natural progression of interest. But then, as Fortnite got really popular, then it's like, well, let's just go back and play Minecraft, you know? And even on YouTube, I think it was the same thing of content, of it getting overflooded with the Fortnite content. Because for a long time, Minecraft is what made YouTube gaming huge, right? It was all over the site, like millions and millions of views. I just think, you know, people forgot how big Minecraft was. It's not like it went away and it stopped having millions upon millions of players. I think it's that Fortnite was the hot commodity, and then people are like, we're done with that. Let's go back to what we were familiar with, and Minecraft's back there. The crazy thing is we're not talking about player base. We're talking about sales, which means it could be also, Jordan, another generation of kids, you know, getting old enough to play Minecraft. We're in the summer.
Little bro. Big bro's teaching little bro, hey, man, you got to check out this Minecraft.
Yep, maybe it's a lot of these kids' first summer off of school where their parents are allowing them to play video games. They're like, Minecraft has always seemed awesome. You don't know. There could be a number of options. You know, kids growing up playing Minecraft mobily, then finally getting a console and buying it on there. Who knows? Number 4, GTA 5. This has a lot to do with the new content push that included the gambling controversy thing that's recently been in the news. Of allowing people to buy currency and gamble in the game. Apparently that feature's recently, in the last week, been blocked in 50 countries. But because it was a new update with new content outside of that, it got back in the mix in terms of top sellers. Number 3, Mortal Kombat 11. No reason there, just it got good reviews and it's continuing to sell well. Obviously, it sold well the month it came out. And we're also getting closer to EVO. So, there's that. Number 2, a game you talked about, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Pretty impressive, coming in at number 2. We have a little bit of news on terms of its specific sales a little bit later. And number 1, Super Mario Maker 2. Even though it came out like the 26th, obviously it dominated. And that's not including digital sales, which I know a lot of people probably bought it digitally. I myself bought it digitally. So it's crazy that's number 1 without that.
I should say about Crash, very solid remake. And I really appreciate that now. Like I said, the exact input experience as far as drifting goes and driving, that may be a separate opinion. But I really appreciate what they've been doing with the Crash Insane Trilogy and Spyro and now the CTR. I think that those are some of the best remakes coming out. And we're clearly in a renaissance of remakes. So.
Yeah. Oh, my childhood, man. Nostalgia. Now let's talk about the top-selling games as of June 31st for the entire year of 2019. We got some bad news for you, Jordan. Your Kingdom Hearts 3 no longer holds a top spot, but we'll get to that. So coming in at number 5,
not bad news. That game does not deserve to still hold the top spot.
There's another game in the top 5 that doesn't deserve to be there, which you'll hear rather shortly. Number 5, Resident Evil 2 Remake, still holding on. That's great. Solid game. Can't wait to get to it around October. Number 4, Anthem. Still there. Once it, like you just said, a game that doesn't deserve to be in the top 5.
Like,
though I think,
how are you guys not fucking able to support that shit if it's one of the top 5 selling games of the year? Like,
yeah, but
it seems like they've given up on it. Have they?
Yeah, I would think so. But you also have to think about how well that probably sold at launch. So how much of it sitting in the top 4 is the launch sales? Like the fall off, you know what I mean, of sales since then. Who knows? Number 3, The Division 2, but this will likely be number 1 when we see July's NPDs because Ubisoft basically talked about them having the best-selling game of the year so far here in the month of July. So next month we'll probably see The Division 2's number 1. Obviously we talk about Ubisoft always has a game that sells extremely well.
Sorry to stop us again, but holy shit, Jerrad. Dragon Age 4 or 5, whatever the fuck it is our only hope for BioWare.
Well, and the fact that
I don't think they're totally dead if it's not successful, but wow.
Yeah. It's with Anthem, it's the whole, I think we can get into this on another podcast entirely, but I agree with you that like Dragon Age 4 is going to say a lot about the direction of BioWare and how we should treat them moving forward.
Shit. Now that we're several months away, it's just like looking at the destruction. I won't go too far into it. I'm just utterly in awe, in shock of the path that BioWare has taken these last few years.
Well, and this to me, like Anthem showed how overblown the Fallout 76 thing was in terms, let me finish because I know it's going to sound very divisive, in terms of them supporting it post-launch and making it better. Like at E3, they announced 2 new, the Battle Royale and all of this expansion stuff for completely free for people who bought it, which you can have your issues with the game shouldn't be released broken. I understand that. But looking at Anthem, we're asking, are they completely removing support from the game? And this is like months later.
Yeah,
Fallout 76 came out late 2018, you know?
I'm wondering, is Anthem ever going to have that? And I don't think EA will do that. I think that is... Bethesda are obviously assholes for the way they released that game, I think, but at least they would be like, we fucked up, we gotta fix it, so I don't think EA will do the same, and that's very sad.
It's one thing to screw up and then actually work towards fixing that, and screwing up and trying to sweep it under the rug, I can respect one a little bit more than the other.
Well, not even sweep it under the rug, but just act like, what? Like, you just punch your friend in the face, and then you're just like, what? Why are you upset?
Yeah, I mean, and they're also lucky that they had Apex be... Obviously, it's dipped off in terms of mass numbers, but, like, it's still, like, a very solid game, and if not for Respawn, they'd be in an even worse place, you know what I mean? EA in general. Yeah. And Respawn's like, guys, we're, like, walking through this swamp water right now. We're just trying to get above ground. Like, let us get there. We're carrying you, you know what I mean? Carrying the whole weight of...
Yeah, like, think if you're Respawn that just got bought by them, and then... Yeah, basically what you're saying. You're the only, like, lifeline of quality games outside the sports ecosystem. So
and it's only because they have the creative freedom. Like, if they didn't have that, we'd probably see them going through the same struggles. Like, a big confusion is that people think the Apex is built on the Frostbite stuff. It's not. Vincent Pella basically told him, like, hey, we're making this on Unreal. So it's not on Frostbite, and that's why it's...
not Last Jedi, but... Fallen Order as well?
Yeah. Almost every game for EA... you're talking about, is it on Unreal? I'm pretty sure it's also on Unreal. Though I could be wrong about that. I know 100% Apex is on Unreal. But obviously you see that it's a lot easier for them to build on that because it's a developer's friend in terms of a game engine. Let's get to the rest...
Lament for BioWare.
Let's get to the rest of these top-selling games for 2019. Number 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, finally fell off. Like we said, shouldn't be there. I still want to... I say I want to go back and finish it. I don't know if I actually do. But we'll see if that ever happens. And number 1, Mortal Kombat 11. Number 1 selling game of the year so far. But like I said, next month it'll get passed by Division 2. But for a fighting game to hold that spot, NetherRealm, man, despite all of the weird... like microtransaction-y heart stuff they had at the launch, they still managed to sell very well. I'm excited for Injustice 3 on next gen. Can't wait.
Ooh-wee.
Other news for June NPDs. Nitro Fueled, Crash Team Racing, set the franchise's launch month total sales record. It passed Insane Trilogy. So it's like the best launch month for a Crash game ever. Which we talked about it being number 2 for the month. Not a surprise. This is really cool in Jordan. Marvel's Spider-Man came in at number 7 in June. Probably, obviously, due to Far From Home's release. Got a nice resurgence there, people being stoked about it. As far as the movie, Far From Home recently passed $1 billion. And if those rumblings and rumors are to be believed, it means that Marvel will have a chance to make more Spider-Man movies. Because apparently, there was this thing that if Far From Home didn't pass $1 billion... that they would have to like renegotiate the Spider-Man deal or something, but if it did pass $1 billion, Marvel can make another movie. I don't know. It's like a weird thing. But
Jerrad, super quick, most excited thing that you're most excited for in Phase 4.
So Blade isn't Phase 4. I'm just talking to myself on this. That's not Phase 4. That's not Phase 4. Under the assumption, because if it goes by the 2-year release cadence,
What if, Jerrad?
What if is dope
for you. I am more excited for the animated series What If, surprise for me, than anything else in Phase 4 that I've heard about. Other than maybe Doctor Strange, too.
Doctor Strange, the fact that it's going to be like the first scary Marvel movie gets me excited.
Oh! Dude, I'm so excited for the first MCU horror flick.
Also, the fact that they said that, I really think that's where we're going to see Mahershala Ali as Blade first. I think he's going to pop up in that Doctor Strange movie to lead into his own movie.
Damn. So, I think it was kind of funny that I was talking about the Taika Waititi's vampires from What We Do in the Shadows
being in it.
Up,
Yeah.
Which, I don't know who made the film, but the show is on FX.
Yeah, and Disney owns FX now, so.
Dude, that would be so fucking dope if they had a cameo in via Blade somehow.
It's tough. I would say, to my original point, if we assume that Spider-Man hits the same release cadence, Spider-Man 3 is up there for me. But considering if going by, I know the point of the question was everything we saw announced, I would say...
Well, I did just say Phase 4, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's obviously Guardians Volume 3 for me. If that ends up in Phase 4.
I would say the Eternals because I have optimism in... You know, we went into Guardians not knowing exactly what it was, and it's not going to be the same thing. But I've heard these ideas of what if it's not like an old space age high fantasy tale of way back when the Eternals were first getting started. What if we see them throughout time because they're like immortal essentially, right. And the jokes and stuff that can happen in the settings with like Kumail Nanjiani and all these other actors, and I really do think that they're going to be the introduction of the mutants. I think that movie is going to show how X-Men come to be, and for that sole reason, Jordan, that's why I'm excited. Not necessarily the Eternals, but what it could mean for the MCU moving forward. That's why Doctor Strange is there too.
History of the Marvel Universe comic that came out this week.
Have it downloaded. Planning to get to it.
Dude. It's kind of weird because it basically has the story that they're telling in comic form, and then it does the same thing but in like encyclopedia form. I don't know if you need to read it twice if you get it after you read the comic version at the beginning. But I appreciate how thorough they're being and like really explaining all this wild bullshit that if you try to watch, Comics Explained or Comic Storian or anybody like that on YouTube, trying to wrap your head around the history of the Marvel or DC universe is just wacky. So I can appreciate them trying to kind of be like, these are the beings that created the universe and all this shit, and then they reference in the back of the book like Fantastic Four number 275, Thor number 169, the year came out. So if you really want to dig that deep into it, I appreciate what they're doing there.
The last NPD, as we hop into the last story, which involves Nintendo. No, I agree. I just didn't have anything to reply to.
No. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just like, I guess I'm going to figure out a way to make this a comic book podcast by the end of my days.
So the Nintendo Switch was the best-selling hardware unit in dollar sales for June and in the first 6 months of the year. We've talked about this every time NPDs come out. It's not surprising. It's the freshest console in the market. We're gearing up for next gen. The Switch Lite, best believe that it's going to sell astronomically.
So we don't know about Switch Pro. Do you think that next-gen consoles are going to hurt Switch with it looking, really inferior graphically?
I think that if either Super Mario Odyssey 2 or Breath of the Wild sequel comes out first, I think Pro launches day and date with whatever one comes first. But to answer your question, I think it will be inferior, so I do think they're going to be pitching a Pro. And
so you don't think we'll get like Pro spring of next year and Breath of the Wild 2 in the fall?
Possibly, but we could get Super Mario Odyssey in the spring because remember they both came out. The first ones came out in the same calendar year.
It'd be announced by now, right?
Possibly, but remember, like Nintendo does directs throughout the year. They could easily do a direct in September and then have that.
Jesus, Jerrad, don't do this to me.
Let's get into this last story. We talked about Joy-Con drift and how irritating it was last week.
Ooh.
Nintendo.
I love a good drift, but not this kind.
Nintendo, which that's funny. Yeah, call back to the Crash Team Racing. Nintendo is actually making good on it, and this is actually surprising. So this comes way of Owen Good at Polygon. He wrote up the story. I wrote up my own take on everything I read. So with all of the recent buzz surrounding the Nintendo Switch's Joy-Con drift problem, Nintendo has made drastic changes to their return repair procedures and policies. Not only will the repair be free, and those who have already paid to send them in to get repaired can now get refunds, but Nintendo also won't be asking for proof of purchase or documentation confirming hardware is still under warranty. So this is huge. So if you experience Joy-Con drift, basically when Nintendo sent out a memo to all of their customer service saying, believe people if they tell you they're experiencing Joy-Con drift, they get to replace it for free. If people call in saying they already paid for it and they ask for a refund, they get a refund. So
wow.
This is huge.
This is wild, man.
Nintendo doesn't usually act like this, but we've seen a lot of backlash, and I think they notice how crazy it is. This is the second part to this, Jordan. Nintendo had recently come under fire for the issue and recently had a class action lawsuit filed against the company by American consumers. Though the issue shouldn't have existed in the first place, this is me interjecting, at least Nintendo is moving forward with a very consumer-friendly process we haven't seen from them in the past. This is the biggest hardware thing we've seen since the Red Ring, right? Easily. In terms of like sending stuff back.
Maybe. I will just say that it's so crazy, man, that it took all these chinks in the armor to finally get them to budge, because the Switch has honestly had so many, not major, and I definitely wouldn't say minor, but just so many like solid shitty issues with its hardware, with sync issues on the Joy-Cons, with the bending. Dude, I remember the bending. And
I forgot about that, yeah.
How the fucking dock scratches the goddamn screen if you don't have a protector on it. It's like, what the fuck are we even talking about here?
And remember when the... Sorry to interject, but remember when
please.
The console was first being announced and released, we had that discussion, Jordan, where we were like, they're totally getting this out as soon as possible because of the Wii U flopping.
Yeah.
And it was rushed. I love my Switch. I know you love yours too, but it's a rushed piece of hardware, obviously.
And I really thought, other than the battery upgrade that the units are about to get, I really thought that they would have done more than that by now.
Yeah.
In these little tiny things that they do, in just like changing the copyright number or whatever, the SKU, whatever you want to call it. But I'm also really surprised that they haven't done fuck all with the user interface and the store, the way you interact with the console, especially outside of games. So that's really disappointing. It's nice to hear that they are doing this right at this point, but I'm still just so upset with the way that the hardware situation especially has been handled when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. And now it's like, well, we want you to buy a new Nintendo Switch with the Lite version, and then they're going to ask for not less money like the Lite, but more money for the Pro. And I swear to God, Jerrad, if that shit has bullshit dinky hardware problems, especially if they're like calling it a Pro version, I'm going to blow a gasket, man.
Well, the rumblings right now is that it's going to be an entirely docked system.
Fuck that. No way. I'm staying with the OG. My launch, two weeks after launch, and it's going till the day that Switch is no longer releasing games, I guess.
That's it for this week's show. Had a pretty tight schedule this week. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully Dom's back next week as well to join us. In terms of what we're going to be playing, I'm going to be playing some more Super Mario Maker 2, creating some more levels, trying to get through the rest of those 100 Nintendo-created levels. Madden. I want to test out the Superstar X Factors, check out playing for the colleges, and the Face of the Franchise mode, because by next week, it's a weird EA release thing. So it comes out the 2nd, which is Friday, I think. But since I pre-ordered, I get it 3 days early. So then that means I'd get it like Tuesday. So I'll be able to, I should be able to play it. How to do all the math and figure that out. Anything else I'm playing? No. Watching. The number one movie right now on my watch list is The Farewell, which is
The
stars
Farewell? I have not heard of it.
stars Awkwafina, who's a Asian American actress. She's been in a bunch of things. She actually was cast in
Crazy Rich Asians, I would say, is what I know her from.
Yeah, and she was recently announced, as we talked about Marvel. She's going to be in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Maybe she'll play his
Will
his
there
sister or
be any Iron Fist stuff in the Shang-Chi movie?
Ooh, that could be a good back way in. I don't know. Iron Fist is in a tough spot right now. Who knows?
Sure.
So she stars in the movie. It's about her traveling back to, I believe she's Korean. She goes back to South Korea to visit her dying grandmother, and it's been a hot movie on the festival circuit, getting really good reviews. And
is it an American film?
Yeah, it's an American film, but it just touches on Asian immigrant culture of these kids growing up in America, but having a lot of their older family back in Japan or China or Korea, and there's your family, your extended family isn't right around the corner or in another state. They're an ocean away, and it kind of touches on that, and that's obviously the movie's called The Farewell. And it seems like from the trailers and stuff, it's like a culture shock too, of you being part of the culture but so distant from it because you grew up in America, and you go back, and though you are Korean at heart, or Chinese or Japanese, you don't feel part of that actual culture. You feel more American, you know what I mean, and kind of struggling with that. Looks like a very good film, so excited to watch it. That's it for me. What about you? I'm assuming Fire Emblem, right?
Fire Emblem Three Houses. I getting pretty excited for this one. I think that I'm excited for the Fire Emblem aspect, the Game of Thrones Harry Potter mashup aspect, the strategy role-playing game aspect. So plenty of stuff to be excited about. The anime aspect, of course, Jerrad.
Butterfly effect.
Tell me about that.
Well, because
mechanic?
Well, it's just from what I've read is that it's a lot of the changes. I meant to say choices. A lot of the choices you make in the game regarding students or characters have changes that happen for that specific character throughout, and can affect their personality later in the game, and actually can cause either strong friendships or like antagonistic behaviors to develop. So it's like the butterfly effect of stuff you do early in the game could affect you 40 hours in.
So Jerrad, Dom missed out because I'm about to allow you to make a major decision for me.
Ooh, okay.
Jerrad, am I playing this game permadeath or not?
Your first playthrough.
Yep.
I would say
it affects the story. I'm putting my fucking story in your hands.
I think to get the most out of it, it's tough because if you go permadeath, I think you'll actually engage with the story a lot more, and you'll be forced to, right? Because you're gonna start to develop these relationships, and it's permadeath.
I'll just say this: throw a little more sauce in the pot. If I'm playing permadeath, I'm not restarting the battle when somebody dies.
Yeah, from everything you've talked about, especially with like Wargroove and stuff like that, I know Wargroove, more of your issue was doing the damage being hand in hand with your health and stuff like that. But I do know the going over the same battle over and over again, because you just stated that you're not going to replay them. I think you should go permadeath.
I am going permadeath?
I think go permadeath, but Jordan, I'll give you this caveat. I'll throw in this caveat.
I thought, dude, that was like a twist. I thought you were going to say, from what you explained, no permadeath.
Well,
I love it.
Up until you said you're not going to repeat them, because my worry is if you go permadeath but then repeat him, you're just going to be stuck trying to save the character you love, right? And it'll get really frustrating. Yeah. But the fact that you said you're not going to, I'll throw in one caveat though. If you're early on and you experience something with the permadeath that like really bothers you, like the fact that like this is like bullshit, like from a game,
if it was gonna like ruin me wanting to play the game.
If like this is bullshit, then kill it. Not your character, the permadeath. Yeah.
Sure.
Is it so?
Awesome.
Outside of that, any movie? Oh, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I want to try to watch that too.
Yeah, I'm about to scoot on over here in a few minutos. Gonna see that. I don't think I'm gonna go see Lion King. I just don't know that I can get on board with these Disney live action. I know this isn't technically live action, but the Disney live action remakes. I think that Jungle Book, from the sound of it, that's I think the only one I've seen. Maybe, but
well, there's four, right? There's Cinderella, Jungle Book, Aladdin, and Lion King.
I was actually looking on Wikipedia, and there's more than that. There's more than you
Well, they count Maleficent, but that's not based on an actual movie.
Cinderella?
I said Cinderella, yeah.
Oh, okay. But they actually did a Jungle Book one in the 90s, and then they did the Dalmatian movies, remember?
Yeah, I guess I'm talking more modern. But, yeah, to your point, there has been more.
Sure, since 2010 with, I guess, Maleficent would be 2010.
But
I agree that it is a different era.
But does Maleficent count, though? That's not based on there's not an animated Maleficent movie.
No, but it's based on Sleeping Beauty, of course.
Yeah, and I guess Sleeping Beauty is less interesting.
I get what you're saying. It's not like a remake of a previous.
I think that's actually like, a better case.
Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah, like if they made Baloo instead of Jungle Book, then I think that would be on equal footing with that. But maybe, like, I know people love Maleficent, but maybe it's because it isn't solely based on Sleeping Beauty. It's told from a different perspective. So.
See, I haven't seen that, so I didn't know that it was that good. I know that Jungle Book is very good, but I do think these are kind of cash grabby, and so I'm just kind of like what we were talking about with Marvel Ultimate Alliance being too much money, and you can't just go for it because it's a Marvel game as much as you might want to, or like the worst DCEU movies. I love DC, but just because I love The Lion King doesn't mean that I should go in on what is sounding like a more mediocre movie than not. Not that it totally is. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but so I don't think I'll be seeing that. And then, what comes out? Oh yeah, I'm not sure about Hobbs and Shaw. I did go through the Fast and Furious in review, kind of funny, and definitely enjoyed the movies more than I thought I would. But it's certainly not up there with like John Wick, where it's like, yeah, it's a stupid action movie, but I still want to go see it in the theater. It's like, it's kind of just a stupid action movie,
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably wait on that, but who knows? So.
Thank you guys for listening. If you can, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell so you know when we upload. Like the video. It helps us grow. Go to iTunes. Leave us a review there. Follow the podcast. Our reviews help get us higher in the algorithm and the placing in terms of the podcast charts. So it obviously leads towards more the algorithm, towards more followers there as well, which is great. On Twitter, you can follow us at CTRLINT. That's Controlled Interest Abbreviated. You can follow me at Jordan_. You can follow Jordan at Melamotus, and you can follow Dom, who's not with us, at Dom's Oreos.
Rest in peace, Dominic, who we have lost to the algorithm.
We'll catch you guys next week. Bye.